Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2016 Audi S6. Up front is a 4.0 liter twin turbo V8, and down below is a 7-speed automatic transmission. Now this is not any Audi S6, this is the current Cannonball record holder, meaning a team of drivers drove this vehicle from New York City to Los Angeles, California in the fastest time ever recorded. And what I'm excited to say is that this isn't a replica of that vehicle. This isn't similar to that vehicle. This is the car that did it, and I am so excited to share this piece of automotive history with you here today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And huge thank you to the Cannonball Garage here in Northern Illinois. If you would like more information about them and their amazing services, you could click the information down in the description below. But let's get back to that twin turbo V8. Well, it has the turbochargers off of an S7. It has a heat exchanger from Alpha and some other tuning goodies, as well as an Alpha tune to make some pretty good horsepower. Now, shockingly, this car has actually never been on a dyno, so I can't tell you how much power it makes, but it's definitely more than stock. Like I said, paired to it is that 7-speed dual clutch transmission that comes in all other S6s. It's fine. It does the job. It's normal. And driving around town, it's been nice, quiet, calm, and collected for a transmission that has handled quite a bit of abuse. Last but not least, this is the Quattro system, so it does have all-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the Audi S6? Well, actually very normal. Around town, it's quiet, it's smooth, and it's really nice. But as I mentioned, it is tuned, it has the twin turbo V8. You can definitely turn up the temperature if you want. But it has that duality where you don't have to. A grandmother could drive this to bingo and never bat an eyelash, or you can race across the country and hold a world record. So, the duality of the S6 is quite mighty. However, there is one major glaring issue, a huge oversight by Audi. And I can't believe they let this slip through their fingers. At 160 miles an hour, the wind noise gets quite bad. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the one and only reason I don't own an Audi S6. If I can't do 160 miles an hour with no wind noise, I don't want it. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior, where we'll also get into a lot of the modifications done to this car for the Cannonball run. Well, in front of me, I have the stock gauges. Off to the left is the coolant temperature and tachometer, and off to the right is the speedometer and fuel. And of course, I do get an information screen in the center. Up above on the dash, I do get this little radar-looking thing. This is actually from a Cessna small airplane that will alert the pilot that there's another airplane in the area. This was used so the drivers would know if there was a plane overhead that might be tracking their speed. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as some information. And off to the right, we have our navigation, favorite button, and volume. There's also this little label on the airbag that says O is for on. So there's a switch that will actually deactivate the tail lights independent of the rest of the car. And this is a little reminder that O means on, not off. Off to the left, we do have a phone mounted to the vent. This was one of the many navigational tools that the team used. And on the door, we have memory seats, lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do have some dash cams, as well as our infotainment system, standard Audi infotainment. I could only imagine what the playlist looked like for a 25-hour drive across the country. And it does have a backup camera. Although 2016 was before they were required, it did get one. And down below, we have our hazard switch. To the right, we do have a Quattro bag, as well as we have our CB radio and radar jammer, as well as a gauge for the fuel cell that's in the trunk. So there's an extended fuel tank that we'll talk about with the trunk, as you'll see in a second, to help the range of the vehicle, less fuel stops, and that gauge is found under the dash. We have some radios, CB, and intercom system. We have this AL warning system. The CD player and climate controls are stock. We do have dual zone climate as well as heated seats. I'll have to ask the owner, Arnie, if they use heated seats across the country or not. Little cubby and pretty standard shifter, number pad, power parking brake, volume off to the right, and selectors down below. I've always enjoyed the selectors of the Audi products. I think they work really well and have great tactile feedback. And then we have cup holders. So we will do a big freaking bottle test here in the Audi S6. And although it fails, I do have to applaud the fact that it does have two different size cup holders for larger and smaller drinks, just not big enough for the big friggin' bottle. Center console and the seats. The seats are comfortable. They do have S6 embossed into them, which I really, really love. And they seem comfortable enough. They apparently did the job across the country, so they have to be comfy on some level. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the Cannonball record-holding Audi S6, which is just a fun thing to say. But a couple of things to note. First of all, we do have climate vents, climate controls back here, and two 12-volt outlets. A center console with pop-out cup holders. They don't want to pop out. That's okay. But this is where the third person in the team would be sitting. So they would rotate, and they had a couple fuel stops. But someone would normally sit back here, unless they were sleeping. Sometimes they get a couple minutes of sleep, whatever. But they would sit back here with binoculars and look out the front and see as far down the road as they could for any road hazards or anything like that. So this was still a very important part of the car because this is where your third man was. And sometimes the third man can really make or break a run. So that is just so cool. I mean, the history of what happened back here, this GoPro mount in the ceiling light. I love that. You could see clearly all the radars and antennas in the back. I mean, this is a serious car. This was built to do a purpose, and it's just cool to be a part of that and see that from back here. Let's hop into the back because we have some more modifications to show you in the trunk, and then we'll talk about the looks. So around the back of the S6, we do have a trunk popper here. And once we are back here, this is the modification I was talking about. This is what's known as a fuel cell. So basically, it's a second gas tank and a pretty big one at that. This helped extend the range of the car so they would have to stop at less fuel stops. So very, very cool to see that. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard S6 trunk. We have some wiring and piping and stuff. The fuel cell isn't currently hooked up because when you're not doing a run, it's not good to carry that much fuel. The fuel will probably go bad because you're not driving as long, things like that. And this is actually from their Mercedes that they also did a Cannonball run in earlier. So this car, or this fuel cell, has gone across the country at very fast speeds multiple times. So very, very cool to see all of that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is one of the biggest and most important parts of this particular S6. So this car was dressed up to mimic a current, at the time they were using Tauruses, now we see more Explorers, but at the time, current police car. So they used vinyl to change the shape of the headlights and taillights. The black wheels were painted with silver center caps, or silver looking center caps, to mimic the steelies found on police interceptors. And it was completely debadged. Up at the front, you'll see that there's now a Taurus looking Ford badge up at the front. So the idea being, when you pass people at a high rate of speed and they go to call the police, they don't know what to report, or they just report a white car, and that's not descriptive enough. So it actually, of course, ended up working out, and that's why it looks so particular, which is very, very cool. And my personal favorite part of this car. With all of that being said, what are my final thoughts? Well, first of all, it's an absolute privilege and an honor to be driving a piece of automotive history forever after this point. When someone mentions the Cannonball run, this car will be brought up. And it's held the record now for several years. This is the car. I'm going to keep saying that, but I have to make myself believe it. This is the car that did it. This is like owning Arnold Schwarzenegger's dumbbells. This car deserves to be in a museum, and I'm sure probably at some point later in life it will be. But for now, the owner drives it. He brings it to shows, and he allows people to share in that experience, to see first person a piece of actual history. The Cannonball Run has been going on since nearly the development of the automobile. But now, this car is in the history books. This is it, and I was excited to take you on a tour of it and share with you this piece of history that I've been able to drive. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Arnie and Cannonball Garage for allowing me to take out the Cannonball Audi S6. What an amazing piece of history. Arnie has been absolutely wonderful to work with. I mean, just fantastic. Such a kind individual. Such an interesting guy as well. He has stories as many as the day is long, and I really, really appreciate him letting me take it out. If you are interested in any of Cannonball Garage's services, it'll be linked in the description below. Please go check them out. They are wonderful. Such a cool spot, and local here in Illinois. So you can't beat that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.